the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask Reverend Bruce Hunt to come forward and give us our invocation, please.
Yes, if we continue to remove our hats, then let's pray. Dear God, we just thank you for this past weekend, the safety and the fun had by all at the Cabrini Festival. God, we just thank you for this city. I just think of the things that are on the agenda and the things that people and the citizens are talking about. God, we just pray for wisdom for our council and our mayor. And I also pray for the upcoming street fair, where thousands more will be in our great city. We ask for safety, and we ask that you just watch over us. We ask that you continue to give wisdom to our council. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Would the clerk take the roll, please?
Councilwoman Gavarrecki.
Present.
Councilman Templin. Present. Councilman Cisco.
Present.
Councilman DiGiulio.
Here.
Councilman Hayes.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Keenan.
Present.
And Mayor Mategas.
Present.
And Treasurer Armstrong.
Present.
And Mayor Mategas, sorry.
Oh, I'm present again.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Before we go to the agenda, it's come to my attention, two people, one today and somebody in the audience, talked about being able to hear us when they watch us on the Comcast TV. And I would just urge all of us here at the dais that we try and use our mics and talk directly into them so that we get the best sound over. But I would tell the citizens who will be watching us that if you go to the city's webpage and watch the meeting there, the sound is very good. Whatever the problem is, when we send what we get to Comcast, they're having problems with the sound with their equipment and putting it up. And there isn't much we can do. We have our sound system for recording up as high as it will go. And so I just checked with Jim Gross, who does our recording, and he said there's nothing we can do to increase the sound levels. But if you notice, if you go to our website and look at the council meetings there, you'll find that the sound is very good. So you have a choice, I guess. You can watch us without sound, or you can watch us with sound, whatever your pleasure is. I'll ask for a motion for correction and approval of the agenda for May 27th.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Templin, supported by Ms. Gavarrecki. Are there any additions or changes? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It's carried. Thank you very much. Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of May 13th.
Motion.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Keenan.
Supported.
Supported by Mr. DiGiulio. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote on those. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Approval of the minutes for the special meeting of May 20th.
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Gavarrecki, supported by Mr. Templin. Are there any questions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Finally, the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of May 27th.
Motion. Support.
Mr. Templin has moved. Mr. Cisco has supported. Is there any discussion, questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you. I am going to go through the citizens, or the Allen Park Rules of Decorum. Again, I kind of did a test last week and didn't do them, and I forgot some things that I should be doing as the chair, but I noticed some other people, so I'm going to go back and we'll go through. An individual may only speak on an issue after the individual has been recognized by the chairperson. Comments from the floor shall be made at the podium at the front of the council table or at such other area as designated by the chairperson. Prior to the individual speaking from the floor, the individual shall identify themselves and state their address for the record. I think that's just what street you're on. The individual shall also identify any group or organization they may be representing. All comments shall be directed only to the chairperson. Speakers are not to address other members of the council or members of the audience. Each member of the public may speak for up to 3 minutes on agenda items and up to 5 minutes at the end of the meeting on questions and comment period. All written statements should be given to the city clerk prior to the meeting so that copies may be made available to the members of the public body. And no individual shall be allowed to make any defamatory attack or invasion of another individual's personal life. There shall be no questions, comments, discussions, or attacks regarding anybody's personal life. The chairperson shall immediately rule out of order any person who begins to bring up such items. If the chairperson does not do so, any member of the council may, by calling for a point of order, request the chairperson to rule the offending party out of order. If the chairperson does not rule the offending party out of order, any council member may call for an appeal of the decision of the chairperson. If the chairperson's decision is overturned, the offending person shall be deemed as being out of order. If a person who makes the comments is allowed to continue, the person who is being challenged or whom the comments are made against shall be entitled to make an immediate rebuttal statement. For the purposes of these rules, as they relate to elected officials or city officials, the term personal life shall refer to anything other than that which is said or done in the person's official capacity as an elected official or in the person's official city capacity. Any and all comments that are ruled out of order are to be stricken or redacted from any and all recordings. Members of the public body may question the speakers, but the members of the public body are not obligated to answer any questions or make any statements on the issue raised or discussed by the speaker. No person or group shall be allowed to disrupt the meetings or proceedings, and any individual who fails to comply with these rules after having first been warned by the chairperson to cease such action shall be ordered by the chairperson to leave and or be ejected from the meeting. So with that, I'll ask for citizens' comments on agenda items, and you're limited to 3 minutes. Are there any citizens who want to comment on our agenda items this evening? Okay, I'm going to take that there are none coming forward at this time, and we'll go to the emergency manager, Ms. Parker's, and the administrator's report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to bring to the attention of the mayor and council and the public that we're pretty close to an agreement related to the Southfield lease properties, and we tentatively have scheduled a press conference on June the 12th, this Thursday, at 2:00 p.m. at the Southfield lease property location at the 16630 building. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
16630, Ms. Parker, is the Stotzenberger?
Yes, Stotzenberger. Mr. Mayor, the city administrator may also have some comments as well.
Oh,
Under
okay.
that report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and other elected officials. Couple of things. First of all, it really is my pleasure to introduce to you the new DPW director. His name is Tom Wilson, and he comes with a wealth of experience, primarily from Romulus. So, would you stand?
Welcome, Tom.
I wanted to give a bit of an update concerning the community center. As you know, we have retained the services of Patrick Hawkins, who is the new director for the community center. He started late in May, and I think that coincided with taking the ice out. And along with taking the ice out, then the coolers were also turned off. He is becoming acclimated. You may recall he was introduced here, but he was also introduced to the Parks and Recreation Commission, at which time he shared with them his desire to work with the commission in developing the next 5-year master plan. He is in the process of reviewing the existing one from a number of years ago. He also has been given the new budget, and I would remind you that if you think back probably about 5 years, at that time, the model from which the city was working was a model that incorporated about 5 or more full-time positions. The present budget does not do that. There is but one full-time position, and that is the director. And then a number of part-time positions, including a part-time position that provides for oversight for our parks and the recreational activities that take place in our parks. Also, he does continue to look at the budget in light of his evaluation of a variety of things, not just the operations, but also the equipment, the facility, and any other needs. The one other thing that I do want to point out, because he underscored that certainly with me, is that one of the key things that he is going to be tackling starting right now is making sure that the community center gets cleaned from top to bottom, that in fact the floors are stripped and appropriately taken care of, and also that many of those areas are going to get a fresh coat of paint as well. He also informed me today that in anticipation of the street fair, the coolers will be turned back on as they put the ice back in, getting it ready for the hockey season, if you will, and the skating season. And so the good news about that, in conjunction with the street fair, is literally that can be a spot for people to cool down if need be for the street fair. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask a question or two, Mr. Mayor? One thing I guess I'm puzzled by, we're doing this cleaning. I thought we had done some deep cleaning about 2 months ago when Tech left. You made a big presentation about as we speak, we're doing deep cleaning. And what happened? That cleaning didn't take, or what happened there?
There were portions of the facility that, in fact, I believe Ron Wilkowitz did, in fact, bring somebody in to do some deep cleaning. And what we have Pat Hawkins continuing is along that path, as well as addressing the floors, because I'm not sure the floors were fully addressed at that time.
I guess I'm trying to understand. I know something about cleaning and deep cleaning, but I thought it was accomplished. Second thing I had question of is I've been given to believe that, notwithstanding the appointment of the new gentleman, Mr. Hawkins, that Mr. Smith continues there and will continue in his capacity as director that's not the director, or I don't know exactly what he'll be.
As you probably recall, over the last couple of years, Carson has been operating in the capacity of oversight and operations for the parks, as well as the operations that occur in the parks, as well as, I believe, the senior services in a part-time capacity. And so he will continue to do so in a part-time capacity.
He works 35 hours a week, I understand, and in the capacity of, a couple of those at least should have gone away with the appointment of the new director, I'm thinking. So are we cutting his hours in half, or cutting his pay, or why do we need 2 directors is the question.
Well, again, he's not the director of the community center. And he
Is
does
his
work
rate of pay
part-time,
changing?
so the hours that he will be working are actually not the 35 hours. I think he pitched in and worked probably way over that, but was paid less than 30 hours as we did our transition for a couple of months. So it will be certainly less than 30 hours. And the other part to that is that during any periods where there aren't activities having to do with the parks and recreation in the parks, then he would not be working there in that capacity. If there is some other way in which Pat Hawkins deems he could be used, I'm sure he'll do that, but not at that salary rate.
So what you're saying is that he will have less than 35 hours a week. He was making about $45,000 a year in this part-time capacity. Could you just give us a report next time when you find out exactly what his hours will be and his pay will be? I think the citizens want to know why we have to have two director-level type people in this facility that's not doing all that much.
Well,
like it-
again, he's not the director, but I think the emergency manager can add to that.
Well, just to add a couple of comments, as everyone is aware, there was a time frame where we did not have a director, and to a great extent, Mr. Smith was working far beyond even 40 hours per week just to keep things going. He's expressed an interest even before filling the position to get closer to what he had committed to earlier in the process, which was 20 hours per week. So I do not anticipate anything beyond the 20 hours per week, just based on what his arrangement was with the city beforehand. And then just another comment on the deep cleaning. At the time that we were going through the transition, the cleaning process was just trying to get the building clean. It did not include painting, and with stripping the floors and redoing the floors and assessing the carpet and whether there's a need to make some type of adjustment in the event that the stains were not removable. So to a great extent, we've stepped it up to a different level altogether, just to clarify that issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to community announcements, and the first item that I have, we'll take them one at a time because they're, I think, quite different. Curbside pickup of permit 072014 by Christopher Klutz. There's a $50 fee. He has a certificate of insurance filed with that. Could I have a motion on that matter?
So moved.
Mr. Hayes.
Support.
Support by Mr. Templin. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is carried. The Allen Park Festivities Commission is asked to close down the portion of Allen Road between Roosevelt and E-Course to Southfield Road on August 1st, 2nd, 2014 for our 33rd Annual Arts Street Fair. Can I have a motion on that, please?
Motion.
Support.
Templin, supported by Ms. Gawarecki. Is there any questions on that? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is carried. Thank you. Allen Park Festivities Commission is asking for approval to sell beer and wine at the street fair. Could I have a motion on that?
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Cisco, supported by Mr. Hayes. Is there any questions there? Hearing none, I'll ask for that vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Oh. Mayor Pro Tem voted no on that?
Okay, yeah. Lips that touch wine shall not touch mine.
Well, I've stated every year that I'm concerned about the legalities of people drinking and driving under a city amendment, so I think I vote no every time.
Let the record show that Mr. Keenan has voted no, but it is a carried motion. Downtown Development Authority is asking to close down Allen Road between White and Southfield and that portion of Philomene to Park Avenue on June 25th, for the annual Classic Car Show.
Motion. Support.
Moved by Mr. Keenan, supported by Mr. DiGiulio. If there's any questions, we do have, gosh, I did a senior moment here. The DDA director is with us and can answer those. I appreciate her coming, and I want to express the council and my sympathy for the loss of your grandmother. So, are there any questions?
No, you just might want to state the rain date just in case, so that way it'll be noted.
Oh, I thought he did. June 25th, 2014.
No, that's the day of the event, the rain day event.
Oh, the rain date.
The rain day
Oh, it's
event
on the,
is July 2nd,
okay,
just in case.
it's on the permit. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't look over
They don't
here.
panic in case the weather turns bad. The announcement's been made.
Rain date, well, yeah, July 2nd, so. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Before we go to the attorneys to convene to closed session, we're going to have the citizens and elected officials comments. So I'll go to citizens' questions and comments first.
Good evening. Mayor.
Evening.
Michael Mullins, Horger Avenue. I just want to come up here and say thank you so much. After numerous years of complaining about on an ordinance violation, I finally had a resolution, and it's been standing. So you guys all know the business I'm talking about. The gentleman has removed his signs, and I think that all of you that may pass by the business will agree that it looks a lot better, and plus there's no safety hazard. So to all those that work diligently on this, I say thank you. Now, with that being said, I want to thank the prosecutor. He was very kind and reached out to me on numerous occasions and asked me if I was happy with the resolution, to which I am. However, I think that I still am owed an apology by somebody that the taxpayers pay for. It was alleged that that the business owner had told somebody in the city that I was harassing him, going into his business and engaging in harassing behavior to the point that he might sue me. It was then put on city letterhead, and it was, in my opinion, published because somebody was copied on that. I had filed an ethics complaint about that because I believe that this claim was erroneous. It was erroneous. And it made me, it attacked my character, as all of you probably well know me, that I do speak my opinion, but I don't lie. And it was told at this last court, which was public obviously, that the gentleman did acknowledge that I was never in his business, and the prosecutor did hear that, and so did the building inspector. So I would kindly ask that this person that had published an erroneous claim on city letterhead, that he or she apologize to me in the appropriate fashion when that time comes. Thank you.
Don Iden from the Building Authority. I'd like to address this to Ms. Parker, please.
Yes.
We received a letter from her in regards to $330,000 to be transferred to her, not to the city. So I'd like to know where the money's gone. Seeing that we saved that money, the community council saved that on interest. That was excess money from the court. The court should get some of that money to help them out a little bit. Why does the $330,000 go into the general fund?
There was a request and resolution adopted by the city council related to the use of those dollars towards certain expenses associated with the general operating fund. And so as of right now, we are evaluating whether that's feasible or not. That's where the funds are at right now. They're in a separate line item in the city's operating budget.
I think the council should look and ask the judges if they need any of that funds right now for something that they could use it for. I think that should be transferred back to them.
Good evening, council. My name's Tyler Brooks. I live on 7746 Larmy Street or Avenue. Nobody really knows. So I have a question. I see the city council meetings are online on YouTube. Is that an official capacity movement, or is that just a nice person doing that? Can anyone answer that, or must be a nice person? Okay, well, you know what, maybe it can be because it's a feed off of these cameras. So it's not off a tripod back here. Anyways, my question is, the meeting we just had, why could that not be televised? Is there a cost associated with that? I don't understand what would stop it. I mean, we're all here, it wasn't even on an extra day. And I think it would be helpful information for any citizen. Any reason for you to have a public hearing is a reason a citizen might want to hear it. So I'm just a little confused. I don't know if it got overlooked or there's some dark secret, I don't know.
The parties in their presentations did not want it televised.
Oh, I see. Well, that would be helpful to know next time you don't televise something. Then I don't have to bother you guys. Also, I thought that was, I wasn't too interested really in the smart meters, but I thought that was great you guys held that. I don't know what it's called, a memorandum. But my question is, what happens from that information? Because I basically just came in here and heard a guy tell me all the horrible things, and then I heard these other guys come in here and tell me how everything's was my question is that the song and dance and it's over, or is there decisions being made on that? I know opinions are being made on that, but is any decision on the council being made on that?
Public Service Commission has already ruled that they are appropriate and already had overruled the Dearborn Heights Council on their resolution. There is a matter as the proponents, or the opponents to the smart meters are before the Court of Appeals on something. He did not say what. So we'll have to wait to see what that court decision is, and that's the Michigan Court of Appeals.
Okay, so, all right, lots of lawyer games. All right, just out of curiosity, I know we went over this before, but the selling beer and wine, where does that money go? Does it go back into like the next street fair fund?
That, if I might, Mr. Mayor.
Sure. Councilman Cisco.
The Festivities Commission has their own account that's actually in the city account. Is that right, Ms. Parker?
That's correct.
And according to ordinance, they are allowed to spend it on certain things. Fix the parks, scholarships is part of it, or possibly anything that the city might ask of them to use for.
Okay.
But it goes back, it definitely goes back into the city.
Into the gray fund.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think just recently, I think the commission, Ms. Gavarecki might want to correct me on this if I'm wrong, they've voted to spend some money into the parks this year.
Well, good. Glad to hear it. And hey.
And the fields, and the baseball fields.
Yeah, I was going to say, the last point, the field across the street got mowed. So, great job. The clippings are this tall, but they're down, so,
Mr. Brooks,
thanks.
before you leave, Mayor, may I address a couple of those issues?
Sure.
I just want to bring up, and you may or may not be aware of this, but the taping of the meetings, these meetings here, at least it should be happening. I haven't been over there to check, but my understanding is that we make a CD of it, and that goes to the Allen Park Public Library. So
Yeah,
that could be one of the reasons why you're seeing it on YouTube.
Oh,
Someone could be
okay, yeah.
putting it-
Whoever's doing it, thanks a lot.
Yep.
Other than this mic is loud. My wife loves listening to those all the time.
Okay.
That is Mr. Jim Gross from the clerk's office.
Oh, well-
He took it initially. I just want to recognize him because he does work pretty hard on it. and
Thanks to
we're
Jim
pretty
Gross.
proud. Thank you.
This mic distorts. You guys probably heard it. It's very annoying. But other than that, it's great to have. All right, thanks, guys.
Sorry.
Dorothy Bean, College Avenue, Allen Park. Thank you, council members, mayor, Ms. Parker. I'd like to ask first about the resolution. I know a drafting copy went to Mr. Cisco, and I'd like to know what actions are being done about it. I want to keep my analog. I have choice on this. If you want to have a smart meter, that's your choice. But I'm asking for action on this to pass a resolution. This was placed a couple weeks ago. So I would really like to know what actions have been taken for this to go through, for us that want to choose to keep our analog. I thank you for the presentations today, for DTE and the opponent. And when I received the call on Friday from Ms. Folks telling me that Mr. Sheldon would be talking, it was in the afternoon. I don't know, the decision was made at that time. I did ask her, can it be televised? And she told me that it's not fair because DTE is not being televised. And I told her, well then, televise DTE and the opponent. I have no problem with that. And she said no. And so in answer to make a comment to what you just told this gentleman, both parties did not agree to not have it televised. So I'm just wondering if that was DTE's terms to come, that they did not want it televised. Only you know what the truth is. I find it ironic that on June 3rd, I received the email announcing the DTE presentation without any consideration or any announcement about the opponent's side. I therefore called and complained to Ms. Parker. She then asked me for Dave Sheldon's number. I had also seen that the DTE announcement was placed on the city website and the cable channel. I'm not sure where else it was announced at. No mention about the opposition. I'd like to go back to May 22nd, when I emailed Ms. Parker. I emailed her, I asked her to place an announcement on the channel station. And because we are now being televised, I will place this announcement in my verbal way so people that is watching TV can see. This would have went out a few weeks back, at least 2 weeks ago. This is May 22nd when I emailed her this. I asked for this announcement to go on. DTE is installing smart electric meters, advanced upgrade. Become educated about these meters. For information on how these meters have been affecting the health of customers, go to Smart Meter Education Network, and the phone number is 734-972-2677. This was an attempt for me to try to get people to be aware if they want to make a choice to have this or not. I therefore sent her another email just to remind her of this. This email went out on 26th of May. And, well, she had previously talked to me after the first email and said, well, she had forwarded this to the attorney, and they didn't like maybe DTE should not be mentioned in it. And I said, well, that's fine. Just change it to your utility company. On the 27th, right before the council meeting on the 27th, right before I left the house, I received a message or a phone call from Dorcas, Ms. Parker's secretary. She informed me about 5:20 that the announcement would not be put on the cable channel. So fast forward now, I see that DTE was pretty much got the attention on your website and on the cable channel. And I just would like to know why. When this was supposed to be two-sided. This was supposed to be two-sided. So why did DTE get the attention of your website and the channel? I made an attempt. People out there on the TV watching this, they could have had information in front of them so they could check the website or call the phone number. But this was withheld. This information was withheld. Thank you.
A point of order, Mr. Mayor. Can you clarify the matter of DTE not wanting to be televised, and where do they have standing to make such a request? I don't understand that. They're a public body. It seems like they ought to be available.
These were presentations. We had issued no order saying they had to appear, and that was the condition of their coming, to my understanding. I didn't talk to them. but
Who
that's what
has
they-
that understanding? You didn't talk to, who did? Ms. Folks or Ms. Parker?
Well, I don't know that that's the issue at this point.
Well, I think it is. I think I was asking that the thing be televised like these other folks, whether you agree with Mrs. Bean or Mr. Gary or DTE or whomever. This is information the public needs to know about. And they either said they either had that as a condition or they didn't. Does anybody know that? I can call them tomorrow and ask them, because it should be televised. It can be played right before this meeting like we do the town halls or anything else. Does anybody know? Ms. Folks, do you know?
I believe the mayor already addressed that.
No, he said he didn't know about that.
I think what he indicated is that it was a presentation, and they offered to do a presentation, and in doing their presentation, they asked that they be able to do it without it being televised.
Well, that's the question. Who would they ask that of? Who'd they ask?
They asked us.
Who's us?
And it's,
He didn't ask the mayor. I'm asking, were you asked or was Joyce asked? Who was asked?
I certainly was asked.
Okay.
And it was
Mr.
a
Hayes, come on, this goes beyond the comment and a question of the citizen, okay? You can comment and ask for the answer at some point, but let's
Well, the
let's go
citizen
for it.
asked a question, and I think we owe her an answer.
Well,
I don't know why it's so painful to get the simple truth on anybody around here.
Am I recognized?
you are recognized.
Ray McGusson, Quant, Allen Park, citizen of Allen Park. City Council, Mr. Mayor. Couple questions. The meeting that we had, the presentation, was an announced meeting for the citizens?
The presentations?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Was it considered an open meeting?
No, it wasn't considered a meeting. It was a presentation by two people. It was not considered a meeting of the council.
I'm asking you one more time, Mr. Mayor, and I'm going to do this in a real civil tongue.
It was open
Was
to the
it
public.
considered an open meeting?
It was open to the public.
Okay, thank you very
Now, your
much.
question, is it a meeting where this body was going to take action? It was not, but it was an open forum,
Okay.
open to the public.
I understand that. So it's an open meeting to the public that gives the citizens the right to come to the meeting for a presentation by two organizations to inform the citizens of what's happening within the city. Now, that's considered an open meeting. There is the law stating of what the Open Meetings Act is. In order to go ahead and not be televised or recorded, it was not a meeting to go ahead and have a secret meeting, like a closed meeting like you have. It was not about buying a piece of property. It was not about going ahead and having any type of discipline against anybody. At that time, even during those meetings, it only takes one individual to sit there and say, I don't want it to be televised. An open meeting, anybody out here, anybody, has the right to televise, to record it. Anybody has that right. And also, we have the right to go ahead and ask some questions. It's a meeting. City council members, it's a meeting. That's all this was. It's a meeting. It's an informal meeting. It's like a town hall meeting. It gives the citizens the right to go ahead and come here and try to get some information I want to thank you for allowing them, for inviting them here. It informed the public. And you know what? We learned a lot. Some of us probably didn't want to hear what we heard. And some of us heard what we wanted to hear. But it was considered an open meeting. Be careful. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
First time. Hi, Sandra Mann. I watch you guys on TV. Weren't we allowed 15 minutes with DTE and URD when they came? Didn't you say we were allowed to speak to them? At the last meeting. You guys all agreed we get 15 minutes. Yes, no? Huh?
I don't remember that we said that, we said some things that we would try and do with these people, but I don't think we had talked to them
We
at
were
either
allowed
party.
to be able to ask questions, yes or no?
You know, I don't remember that.
Of course,
Okay.
yeah, well. Time for you to retire.
Russell Pillar, Arlington Avenue, Allen Park. I just have a few questions to ask. Do we still have an ordinance warden?
Yes.
Okay. The reason I ask that, I understand he's probably overwhelmed with work, but driving through my neighborhood, I've noticed a few things that should come to his attention. One is a water main break at 17036 Arlington that's been leaking for a year, and the water department, it's not a major water break, but it's one that runs over the curb and runs the entire half of the city block, or the residential block, to the gutter. And I would think that the city is probably paying for that water that's going through a meter somewhere to, and I think that it's about time that the water department took necessary action there to correct that. Also on 17059 Ann, there's a house there that's vacant, and I don't know whether or not it's a foreclosure or what it is, but the grass hasn't been cut in over a year. It's getting to the point where it's getting between knee and waist high, and I think it's time that either the ordinance warden or somebody gets the bank or whoever owns that home or somebody there to cut the grass. And my last remark is on Pelham and also on M39, the Southfield Freeway, I don't know who cuts the grass there. I don't remember if it's the state or the county, but we have a noxious weed ordinance in this city, and the grass there has not been cut. And I think somebody from the city should either warn or tell the county that it's got to be cut, or a citation of some kind should be forthcoming. And also the debris on Southfield. I mean, that's the gateway to coming into our city. It looks like hell. It's dirty, it's full of trash, there's car parts. I think somebody's responsibility is to clean that up, to beautify our city. Thank you.
Good evening, people elected mayor and council people, an attorney, and Joyce Parker. My name is Deborah Detloff. I live at 14554 Keppen. Real briefly, I also want to touch on the grass problem. 4 years ago, I had a house next door to me that had the grass that was 7 inches high. I called the city and I complained about that, and the city I told them that I cut the grass. I was told by the city at that time if I cut the grass again, I would be ticketed. Now, at this point, on Keppen Street alone, we had to call, some guy bought a house, he stuck up a for sale sign, the grass was 13 inches high in the front, 4 feet high in the back. The guys that came out to cut the grass were appalled. How do we handle this? Do we in turn, we call every day until the grass is cut? as for an ordinance department, how do we convey back to the city that the grass is growing? We have rats, we have a lot of problems. This is not a third world country. Allen Park has always been held in high standards, and it's going to hell. That's the only thing I have to say about that. And I'd like to find out maybe in some upcoming meetings how the city residents handle something like that. What I do want to touch on, though, is these smart meters. I had the smart meter put in my home. They came in, they put the meter on. For whatever reason, my power went out, vroom, 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 4 different times. I called my neighbor. She was smart. She has a dog. She put the dog out. She has not had a meter put in her yard since. I have a meter. My neighbor then calls me and says, come over if you want to see the council meeting. I saw the council meeting the day after, the visual of it, the day after I had the meter put in, and I researched, and I researched, and I was devastated. I was appalled. I was frightened. I have a room at the back of my home now that I will not let my 3-year-old grandson stay in, because it's bad enough with the food he has to eat and the other problems in our country, let alone radiating my son. It is not true that it's a small emission. It's an emission every 15 minutes, 24/7. Aside from the emission, my telephone turning on itself to Wi-Fi, which I don't have, when I turn my phone on and my pictures are open, which I haven't even gone into, that's a little bit of a concern. I'm concerned with that also. But as I sat in my backyard and I looked around my backyard that I have had the pleasure of 14 years, and I've been in Allen Park 20 years, I thought, wow, what happens the day the FEMA trucks come driving down our streets in their FEMA garb and say, whoop, got to take you to one of these camps. Your area is radiated. That is also a big concern. It is not just a fact that it's a little blurb, it's a constant, over and over again. We have, aside from the disruption, my only, and this is what I wanted to ask of these people of DTE, if and fires. Fires, everything I found, there's been over 100 fires. Germany did not allow this in their country. Dearborn has not allowed these in their city. DTE is coming and just putting them in. If my home property does become radiated, who will be responsible for that? If my home does catch a fire at the meter, who will be responsible for that? That is one of the questions somehow I was under the impression I was going to be able to ask DTE tonight. I have a concern of many different levels. My grandson's health is the biggest one. On the internet, I found out that I can put aluminum foil on the wall that is affected with this meter and go out and cover the meter up with aluminum foil. And I thought, yes, and what happens with the next electrical storm? There is a problem with these meters. Yes, they are interfering with they are monitoring everything that we do. This is a big brother time, we realize that. We can't speak alone as citizens. We rely on the council to help us. You are the people who in turn are able to move forward and pull the strings at little me and little individual residents here. I spent 2.5 hours today. I was up and down every street in Allen Park, and every live resident I saw, I stopped and I said, you going to the meeting tonight? People don't know about the meters. People had no idea about the meters. The internet is endless with the information. Do we rely on the internet for our media? Yes, we have to, because our mainstream media does not tell us the truth. And anybody who is involved to talk about this will be jeopardized. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Simmons, and I live on Keppen in Allen Park, and my topic also is smart meters. DTE and Consumers Energy claim that the new smart meter gas and electric meters that they are installing do not cause health problems, but many of their customers are reporting illnesses after the meters are installed, including heart arrhythmias, high blood pressure, unremitting insomnia, fatigue, memory problems, and dangerous changes in blood sugar levels. Smart meters are computerized electric meters that broadcast energy usage to the utility via microwaves. These are the same waves that cell phones emit. However, smart meters are broadcasting 24/7 at a power density 100 to 160 times that of a cell phone. In 2010, the World Health Organization classified the waves emitted by these meters as a Class 2B carcinogen. This came only after much political wrangling and attempts by corporate powers to suppress the WHO's findings altogether, according to Diane Osterman, a former executive in the wireless industry. DTE calls the smart meters advanced meters or AMI meters, presumably in an effort to avoid the negative publicity associated with these meters throughout the United States and Europe. DTE offers an opt-out meter, which it claims will resolve the health and privacy concerns of customers. The opt-out meter is a smart meter with the microwave radio frequency transmitter turned off. Opt-out customers are reporting the same health problems as customers with radio-on smart meters. One family moved from a home with an analog meter, the type of meter that existed for over 100 years, to a home with a smart meter. The mother said, knowing the dangers of radiation from a smart meter, I opted out, thinking it was going to be fine. DTE installed the opt-out smart meter, the family moved in, and she and her children were ill by the very next day, experiencing vomiting, nosebleeds, flu-like symptoms, ringing in the ears, and headaches. As time went on, the mother experienced brain fog. At first, her husband did not experience any problems and thought maybe that it was all in his wife's head. But a month later, he began spending more and more time at home and began suffering as well. The family removed the meter from their home after 2 months, and their symptoms subsided immediately. Environmental engineers and electricians have investigated why the opt-out meter would cause the same problems as a smart meter. The problem seems to be caused by the meter's switching mode power supply. In order to run the meter's digital components, the 240 volts coming down from the power line must be stepped down to 4 to 12 volts. The SMPS is what steps the electricity down, and the process in doing so generates an enormous amount of what is known as line noise or dirty electricity, a spiky, pulsed, highly variable electrical current that rides through all the wiring of a building. This spiky electromagnetic field breaks down cell walls and DNA and accounts for the wide variety of seemingly unrelated health effects caused by these meters. Other symptoms include rashes, fatigue, inability to concentrate, and respiratory symptoms. Many individuals and families are experiencing health problems from these meters. Some people have wound up in the emergency room because of effects of the meters on their body. Whether or not everyone will be affected doesn't matter. Many people are affected and are suffering terribly. At a minimum, DTE needs to offer an opt-out program that will allow individuals to be safe in their homes and keep their analog meters. It is the only type of meter that does not seem to cause health problems. And the question is, why won't DTE allow that meter to be left on the home? It doesn't cost them 1 red cent to leave it there, yet it costs both them and the homeowner time and money to remove it. This is the question that DTE avoids asking or answering. Ask yourselves, why are they avoiding it? Ask them and get an answer, not a deflection. Ask them why they will not allow people who are made ill to be able to keep these meters to be safe in their own homes at no cost to DTE. And I ask that you please consider passing a resolution that would allow us to have a choice between the smart meter or the analog meter. And I also wanted to announce that this Thursday night, there will be a presentation by John Tater. He's going to give some more smart meter information with a DVD, and it's Thursday night, June 12th, 7 p.m. at Nutrition Unlimited, 14185 Eureka Road, near Trenton Road in Southgate, Michigan. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Madam Emergency Manager. Question through the chair to Ms. Parker. I am Alan Wojcinski. I live on Vine Avenue. Sorry about that. I was looking at my papers. Are we hiring police officers, Ms. Parker?
Yes, we are. In total, 5. I believe, as it stands right now, we've hired 3, and there's 2 additional officers that will be hired.
Now, is what's going to happen when they go through their training? Are they going to leave us for another department, or have you raised the pay scale for our incoming officers? Because we are the lowest pay scale in Michigan right now. Are you going to raise the pay scale for our officers?
That's not the plan at this point in time.
Okay. Thank you about the information about the Southfield lease property. Will it be posted on the website, the meeting?
Yes.
Thank you. And the Hill. Anything going?
Nothing that I can discuss at the meeting tonight, but we are still working on that.
Okay. Thank you. This is a general statement. I would like to thank Dorcas McCurry for her service. She will be missed. She did a fine job. And again, she was a shining star in this old dilapidated building. And regarding the one person complaining about the neighbor, it is up to us, Allen Park residents, to keep our city clean and neat. Talk to your neighbor politely about it. I have a neighbor that was unable to cut her grass. I had somebody cut it for her. It's up to us to keep our city clean and beautiful. And going on to that, we have contracted companies to cut grass, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Mayor? Will you please have somebody go out there and watch what they've done to see how they've cut grass and just left it almost as bad as it was before they cut it? You know, call a director, I heard that. Somebody said it. I'll call a director. And finally, when will the disciplinary hearing for Mr. DiGiulio occur? This has gone on long enough. The city has spent too much money on this, and this needs to be taken care of. The sooner, the better. Everybody, have a good night.
Good evening. I'd just like to update you on some exciting things that are going on downtown. First, our 6th annual farmers market started.
Ms. Kivy.
I'm sorry.
I came back from brain death. It is Ms. Kivy, but.
Jennifer Kivy from the Allen Park Downtown Development Authority. The 6th annual farmers market started last Friday. It will run every Friday from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock through October 31st on Park Avenue between Harrison and McLean. Next Thursday at 6 o'clock, we'll be having the public meeting for the Ecorse Streetscape, which is set to begin July 7th. As should go through the end of September. We'll be opening up 24 blocks along the street, and it will be wonderful. As you know, the car show will be June 25th, hopefully, rain date July 2nd. We are starting a massive asphalting program that will be benefiting both the public spaces and our downtown businesses. And we're repairing the alleys right now. So lots of things going on downtown. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Marcy DiGiulio, Allen Park. I have a question. I have a statement first. All of these people just want to be heard and not this information hiding that we have. I learned something real disturbing today. Do you know there are no more cameras in our police cars? So all of that is not being recorded anymore. Nothing. Mrs. Parker, Dorcas left. you sent an email out last week, between 4:15 and 4:30. When you sent it out, an employee who was at City Hall went right over to Dorcas's office to see what had happened, and she was gone. Now, I know you brought her from E-Course with you. Is she going on to your new assignment? Did she leave your employment? What is going on?
Well, basically, any issues related to employees is really personnel related. I certainly can't speak to what Mrs. McCreary's next assignment will be.
Is she going to be with you?
I can't speak to that. I doubt it. I'm
Okay.
not sure where I will be.
Okay. I didn't know if you were leaving soon. I guess that's my question. What was going on? I don't think we have to hide all of this stuff. And I also have another question. Do employees or yourself or any of the council or the mayor or the clerk or the treasurer, does the city issue credit cards that people who work for the city can use and then you pay the bills?
I don't believe there's a situation where the city issues a number of credit cards. The city does have a credit card, but not issued to all employees.
No, I understand not all, but do some have access to it? Who's authorized to use it?
Basically, I'm authorized to use the city's credit card, and I can authorize others to do so.
Okay. All right, well, I would just like to see more openness in government, and we need those cameras back in. I mean, I've been told that there's another police brutality case going on.
Just to clarify,
Uh-huh.
as far as I know, to my knowledge, the police cars do have cameras. I'll check with the chief and find out if something has changed.
I just talked to 2 officers before I came in. There have not been any cameras in those cars.
Well, I'll follow up and find out.
Oh, that's important, because we do have another police brutality case going again, correct? Correct? We can say if we have a case or not. I know we can't talk about it.
I'm not able to really discuss anything related to the city's litigation.
All right, and
Okay.
I guess, and here is my final point, and it will be. I read Matt Tracer's suit that he has with the city on what happened to him, the brutality. And something really struck a nerve in me. I read that Marcos Mandegrill, a police officer here in Allen Park, when I was on council, was thrown in jail. No, he's already sued, Mayor. He's already sued, and he won millions. So I'm not saying anything bad about him. What I'm saying is, I was on council. Executive session meetings, dealing with the lawyers, and I never had that information. We need to start letting people have the information. And you guys all up here should want to have all that information, because it's on your backs what you decide when whoever is running everything decides not to give you that information. Thank you. Good night.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, other officials elected and otherwise, I'm Rick Van Houten Dasher. I come before you as a concerned citizen about the smart meters. I am an electronic technician. I've worked on radar many years. The smart meter is a transmitter. It sends out a signal. It sends out the signal to a receiver. The receiver could be a cell tower, which relays it to another tower that relays it to the eventual receiver. The meter has to have enough power to reach either the cell tower or the receiver. Meaning that if I don't have a smart meter, but my neighbor does, my neighbor's smart meter is still radiating my property. Also, the RF energy, microwave energy, that is pretty much a 360-degree pattern. So it doesn't just go out one direction, it's going out almost 360 degrees. I believe Mr. Sheldon said there's a 15-degree whatever. What this means is that the energy does go into your house through your wall. Most people, their meters, they are on bedroom walls, whatever. You're sitting there being irradiated. I believe that your representatives from DTE were disingenuous when they were talking about the effects of the radiation. The radiation, the pulse is the main thing, and the main energy pattern. It's like just like a microwave. Somebody mentioned a microwave affects pacemakers. Those of us who are a little bit older, we do remember all those signs. That energy is the same kind of a thing. What the energy does, it excites the atoms, and when the atoms are excited, they heat up, they cook. Two things in the body that are especially susceptible are the eyes and the testicles, because of the blood flow in those areas is diminished, so you don't have the healing to get rid of this. When I listened to you, Mr. Mayor, I sense that you don't have a desire to proceed with this. You've cited Dearborn Heights today. You cited Dearborn Heights last month. I believe that you should do the right thing. I believe a resolution to ban smart meters in Allen Park is the right thing to do. And I would just urge you to consider the welfare of the citizens and take this up and revisit. If you have discussed it, revisit that discussion. Thank you.
Charles Levin Champagne. Just a question through the chair, Joyce Parker. Have you guys made any decisions of when you guys decide about the new city hall movement because I know they have information for the 4 options, but is there any new information?
There is not at this point in time. The city council is still evaluating the options.
Okay, and then just another option, like I said before, have you ever looked at where the old junior high was on Allen Road, right behind Pretty Family Park? If that was an option, because I was just concerned of do you know a time frame of when this is going to occur? Because at the last council meeting, we had that huge storm and how flood bad it was in the parking lot. Some witnessed me pretty much the level of the water because the sewers, it was like half of me, and I was just concerned for people's safety of either fixing the back parking lot, but if there was a movement of timeline for any information on that.
There is not a set time frame as far as actually making the decision and relocating City Hall, but I've really encouraged Mayor and Council to look at this in a timely manner given the condition of this building and the parking lot. Okay. So we will move it right along.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
Hi, I'm Ben Harris from Marquise. I just came up to make a comment because I think there's been a lot, obviously, about the smart meters, and I think there's a misunderstanding that needs to be cleared up. Mayor Matakis, did you indicate that in Dearborn Heights there was a resolution passed on the smart meters and that was overruled by the state? I think that there are a lot of concerns about these smart meters, and I think that these concerns are legitimate and that they need to be addressed, but I think that this council chamber is not the place to do it. Because DTE is a state body, it is larger than Allen Park, and I think therefore regulations will have to be imposed by the state. And that to me indicates that this elected body here is effectively powerless to do anything against the implementation of these meters. Is that correct?
That's our understanding.
Right. So I think what needs to be done for the concerns is to be taken rather to the state level than to this council chamber. And I think that is a very important distinction to make because the complaints that are brought to this chamber are not going to be adequately addressed because this chamber is powerless to do anything. And I think that's an important point that needs to be made. Thank you.
I'm Sandy Van Houten on Dasher Street. On the heels of that last comment, I would just like to encourage everybody to write their Michigan legislators and senators. There is a bill in both the House and the Senate, and they're not getting the pressure that they need from the public to act on it. Please also pressure Bill Schuette, Attorney General. He's up for re-election. The state of Michigan very narrowly defines what a meter is. It's a device that registers the amount of energy used. The smart meters go way beyond the amount of energy used in the collection of data. If you want to call it a spying device, you can, but it's not a meter per se. In the earlier untelevised session, DTE made the point that regarding privacy issues, that no personal data would be collected. However, they did make the point that you can look at your usage online. And if I can look at my usage online, I would think any hacker that is able to get into it would also be able to look at my usage online and determine when I'm at work and when I'm on vacation and when my house is ripe to be broken into. Also, one of the council members asked the question of DTE at the earlier session as to why DTE is charging an upfront charge of $67.20 for the opt-out meter. And no answer was provided to this question. I just wanted to point that out to the public. And I could say a lot more, but I'll sit down. Thank you.
I see no other citizens coming forward, so I'll take the council's comments at this point before we ask for the closed session. Tonight we start with Councilman DiGiulio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Got a lot of interesting conversation on the smart meters. And I don't like to see a fee on them if you opt out. I don't feel you should be paying $10 a month and $67 to opt out on that. So I'm really against that. I guess the choice is yours whether you want to have one or not. I think with that, I'm just going to say good night. There's been a lot said tonight, and it's been a long meeting. So good night, Mayor.
Councilwoman Gavricki.
Thank you. Just want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. Have a good night.
Councilman Hayes.
Yes, I empathize with those in our community that are upset about these smart meters. Frankly, I thought it was a good opportunity to have two sides present. I'm dismayed that it won't be televised. I hold out hope it still may be televised. I'm not sure I understand which is more the concern, safety of health or spying. I hear the two listed almost hand in hand. I can recall when you couldn't use a cell phone on an airplane or in a hospital. Now you can. You used to be careful with microwaves because of pacemakers. Now there's no concern. I don't know if this is one of those passing worries that will go away in time. I mean, the gentleman here, I guess he's an expert, I'm not. But I mean, maybe someday they'll say, you know, we were all concerned, but it turned out that it really wasn't what we thought it was. I guess, and I said this to the DT, you say this, they say that. You know, we have to weigh it. They're big, mega, you know, giant corporation with all the money in the world, and these guys are just some local people that are reading the internet material and trying to come up with what they believe. We heard about vaccines and mercury causing autism, and that's been disproven of late. We hear about global warming. We hear about all number of things. And again, if you believe in that, you believe in it. I don't know. I don't really have a particular feeling about it, but I'm confused by the spying aspect versus the health aspect. Those seem to be totally different issues, and yet they end up being in the same discussion. So I guess I wish I could understand it better. I'm afraid that I don't. I do agree with the gentleman who's left us just a moment ago, the young man who said, I don't think it's within our purview to really try to affect it. And I think what we did do, at your request, and I know that I asked Mrs. Parker, as did others of us, I'm sure, to schedule an event like this so that we could hear both sides at least. It doesn't matter what I think about it as an individual. You got the opportunity to hear both sides, and I'm sure, Mrs. Bean, that you're not entirely convinced that was the best thing. Maybe it should have been a different format. But I think in our best effort, we put together two sides, giving them basically equal time to discuss the matter. And I think we accomplished something. If, you know, we may not have convinced anybody. We may not be able to give you the resolution you seek, but I think we did our best. Finally, I'll just say I'd like to congratulate Joe Dowsett at Cabrini, who's been the chairperson for the festival all these many years. I think they were, you know, they were blessed with a beautiful weekend. It rained a little on Sunday. I came out of church and it was raining, but it got cleared up before lunchtime. And I think they have a marvelous day. I didn't get a notice that I won $12,000, so that kind of put me off a bit. But I was over there, and I think it was a lovely event as usual, and I know Father Malia deserves a lot of credit for came to every Mass and pushed us all to show up and spend money and buy tickets, and I think many of us did, to the benefit of the parish as a whole and the community at large. So thank you. That's all I have tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem Keenan.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to reiterate a little bit of what Councilman Hayes said and the young man. I've been, at least in my opinion, tried to be very respectful of the argument regarding the smart meters. As I stated earlier, I have 2 of them on my house. But I have contended from day one that this is not a city issue. Just like the young man said, even in Mr. Sheldon's presentation, he says that the, I believe he said the FCC studies are antiquated. The MPSC doesn't seem to want to have any stance on it. They're not regulating. They're not doing their watchdog effect and all that. This is a state agency and a federal agency. This is not a city agency. I was a little dismayed, even in Mr. Sheldon's presentation at the beginning, as he went over what he was going to touch on. He touched on, as a topic issue, local government involvement, but it never came out in the discussion. It was one of the things he chose to skip. So that's been my, you know, I guess, to be blunt, and I don't want to make it sound disrespectful, but there's been several people over several months in meetings coming up and asking for a resolution. I do not believe that that's going to happen. I have talked to my colleagues. I don't know of anybody up here that's going to make a resolution. As the mayor stated, to our understanding, Dearborn Heights made a resolution. They banned smart meters or put a moratorium on them for a short time. The issue was litigated and they lost. This mayor and council were not elected to put us in a situation where we're going to incur litigation on something that's already been litigated in a neighboring city. This issue is something that should be raised to the governor and to the federal agencies that regulate this. The city of Allen Park has no regulation over DTE or any other utility company. And the idea that by us passing a resolution and sending something off to the state or to the federal government, having some more weight than individuals, I don't believe that. And my understanding is that when they had the hearings the MPSC at the state level regarding these issues, from what I heard, and maybe you can hear different because clearly there's data on the other side, 50 people attended. So I think that the charge for those of you that are very adamantly against these is to rally support to go after the governor and the federal government to mandate these. I think that, I respect your challenge, what you want to do, but I just think you're barking up the wrong tree here at the city of Allen Park, but that's my opinion. I just want to say that I don't even know how to, I think we need to be a little bit more respectful of each other here in the way that we answer things, the way questions are asked and what have you. Certainly we're limited in what we can speak to and what we can't speak to. It doesn't matter, if DTE called and talked to Karen or to Joyce or to the mayor or whoever, if they chose not to want the thing televised, and that was one of the ideas of them coming here, that they mandated that, I'm sure that the city felt that it was better to have them here to give their side of the presentation than not. And I think we need to be respectful of that. It doesn't matter who they talk to. Both sides were presented. This issue was brought up on at least one of the local channels that I saw on 247. One of the local channels did a spot on smart meters, so it has been out in the public. The News Herald has ran stories about it. It was in the News Herald today that we were having the meeting tonight. There's been a lot of things done to communicate to the citizens that this is going on, and I think I counted 42 people here tonight for the discussion. So again, I think that the rally charge for you folks is to rally support to go after the state and the federal government. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Councilman Sisko.
Thank you, Mayor. As far as the DTE issues, I think everybody would be just better off sticking to the health issue side of this. I think that resonates with a lot of people. I think, who am I to tell anybody that they shouldn't have a health concern concerning these things? We've known in the past that sometimes big corporations don't really tell us the truth most of the time. And I think you see that in the news every day. So, and in respect to what we can do and what we can't do, I probably agree that along the state level, that's the way to go. But sometimes you got to start somewhere. And maybe you start at the local level and you all gather together and start putting some things together to make a bigger voice outside of Allen Park. Not saying you shouldn't show your concerns here, which you have done. And I think you've all represented yourself very well, by the way. And just to get on to some other things, in that big weekend for Allen Park in general, the class of 2014 graduated from Allen Park High School on Friday evening. And I noticed in the paper, the News Herald, that there was an article about Melvindale High School getting about $250,000 worth of scholarships for their graduating class. Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think I heard at the Allen Park graduation that there was over $3 million in scholarship given to the Allen Park 2014 graduates. And I could be wrong about that number, but I think it might be more. But it was at least $3 million. So I think we should maybe give everybody a hand that actually made it out of high school. And to my good friend, Mr. Hayes, you did not win the $12,000 or any part of it. And neither did I. But the Cabrini Festival, according to Father Joe, was the exceeded last year's festival, which I think might have been a high water mark. So probably thank everybody for coming out and having a good time. And there was a lot of happy people out there, a lot of happy Allen Park citizens. Whether you belong to the church or not, it's a good time to come out and see your neighbors and maybe some people you haven't seen in a long time. So other than that, thank everybody for coming out tonight.
Councilman Templin.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight.
The question I have, are we still running the grass cutting program with the houses and stuff?
Yes.
I mean, maybe we could, you know, there's some concern by a few people here. Where do they call? Do they call the ordinance warden, as he's so inundated that he can't, I know they don't return calls, but.
He is writing notices, I don't want to say citations. And as to the property on Ann, he wrote one on 6/4. So what happens then is he notifies someone within the city who notifies our landscaping people, and they go out and cut it. And then we bill.
But we don't have that 30-day notice anymore,
No,
isn't it just, it's
no,
immediate,
it's
we started it
instant.
last year, right? Okay. And the only thing I can encourage people is if you see a problem, is you have to call. You have to call, let City Hall know, let the police department know, let the DPS know, whatever it takes, fire department, I don't want to forget them either. If you see something that's hazardous, we don't have that many people working anymore. I mean, city workers are cut down to nothing, police and fire are down to very small force, and it's going to be the eyes and ears of the citizens of Allen Park that's going to keep our community clean and safe. And with that, I'm going to say good night.
Treasurer Armstrong?
To back what Mr. Templin has said, feel free to call the treasurer's office or the building department. You know, we will get that notice out to our ordinance officer, and he is out writing, you know, citations or notices for grass cutting at this time, or debris cleaning up, or whatever the case may be. And with that, thank you for coming, and have a good evening.
Clerk Mizzy?
Thank you. I'd just like to say that the Cabrini Festival was a great success this year. It was great to see so many people, and you know, everyone talks about Cabrini, but a lot of my other faith friends take their family there. It's not just one religion. It's one of those rites of Allen Park summers. Is you have the street fair, you have the Cabrini Festival. We used to have the fireworks, but anyways, to follow up, to piggyback on a third one, the ordinance warden is part-time, but I see him every day come in. First thing he does is ask the girl, anyone call? And it's not his secretary, but sometimes we forward him there. But first thing he does is go to his phone and writes down every address and the person calling. After he's done with that, he gets in his truck and he literally goes to every one of those addresses. I see it every day. He's one man, he's part-time. His name's Ken Simmerly. If you see him, tell him a good job, because I had last week, or basically I got a call from a citizen within 6 days that was cut. So it might have been a quick week, but I usually tell people generally give it a week or so. Usually it's no longer than a week. But other than that, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. God bless you and good night.
Before I go to Ms. Folks or Parker, Ms. Gavricki, did I miss you on the list here?
No.
No, I spoke first. Thank you.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so I was wrong. Excuse me.
You spoke second.
City Administrator, Ms. Folks?
Spoke second.
I'll just make it short. I just want to thank everybody for coming up, but I also want to thank the presenters, because I think they did an outstanding job at organizing the issues and being very informative and calm in their delivery concerning all of the information. So I just want to thank them as well. Thank you.
Emergency Manager, Ms. Parker?
Yes, just a couple of comments, just in reference to the presentations tonight, and there was some comment from maybe one or more residents about not sharing information or, you know, hiding information related to the presenters and the process that was used. But I would just like to state that I think everyone worked very hard to make sure that the presentations did take place and was balanced in terms of time allocation. There isn't any interest in trying to hide information as much as trying to work with the residents here and others in the community in order to accommodate what the concerns are. So I just wanted to state that. And then secondly, Mr. Mizzy, our city clerk, I think summarized very well that our ordinance officer does I think, an excellent job for the city. Right now, he's part-time, a one-man show, but I do know that if you look at his track record since he's been here, he's actually written 4 times the number of citations that have taken place in the past. We are, at this point, advertising for a temporary person to work with him for the summer months and into the fall, just to make sure that we can keep pace with what the need is here in this community. So, you know, again, if there are concerns, contact the police department. Mr. Simmerly is very responsive. The police department is very responsive. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Before I make any comments, I want to say this on behalf of the City Council and myself. I don't think anybody knew Ms. Parker lost her father last week. And she's here and put on a good face for us. And I'm very sorry on behalf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So, we had the presentation on the meters tonight. I always try to look for something that's positive. My positive is that we just added $1,250,000 to the personal property tax roll this year, Ms. Parker. So we can tax it, and because he said $100 a meter, didn't he? So that's 13,000 meters. That's $1,300,000 in my book. There's always got to be a good side to something. We talk about the grass, and there are a lot of ways to make your complaint. You will find poor Mr. If you all go to his personal telephone number, you're going to fill up his voicemail and you won't get through there. You can also use my office number, which is 928-1470. But the other thing is, online we have a complaint form, and actually using the complaint form, you're required to get an answer from us within 5 days on the complaint form. So you can put it in, and there's another way to do it. You can get it online. Of course, you can come in and get it at the clerk's office. But that's another method of communicating the concerns that we have, because we can't be all over and see everything that's going on. And we do try and give a notice. Some communities send a notice at the beginning of the year, and I think we should consider it is, we send you notice to every house and say, if you haven't cut your grass by May 14th, we're going to come and cut your grass, and you're going to get a bill for it and put on your tax bill. And maybe that's just a faster way to do it and stops all the notice provisions, but we'll have to consider that. The other thing, a citizen commented about police and what goes on there. Our charter provides that the only reports as to our police and fire departments are to go through the Safety Commission, which I don't think currently we have one, so any reports would be going by the chiefs to Ms. Parker. But I think one of the reasons that we don't see a complete statement there is many things that our police do, particularly, are sensitive in nature, and you really don't want to tell where they are at any given point in time necessarily in the city. That's not to say that we want to cover up wrongdoing, but there are procedures for that to be handled, and hopefully those things are going forward. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to go to closed session for the purposes stated by Mr. Hayes.
Supported.
Supported by Mr. DiGiulio, and I think that's a roll call vote, is it? Mr.
Yes,
Clerk?
it is. Councilwoman Gavarecki.
Yes.
Sorry, Councilman DiGiulio.
Yes.
Councilman Hayes. Yes. Councilman Keenan.
Yes.
Mayor Mategas.
Yes.
Councilman Cisco.
Yes.
And Councilman Templin.
Yes.
We will convene into a closed session.
8 minutes.
We're going to take a brief break, but we will convene into closed session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation and purchase or lease of property as permitted under MCL 15.268D and E.
Well, he was really up in age and everything, and he had been sick for a while.